Cleveland.com.
Jim, now that you actually got to see Jordan Hancock playing a game and got a chance to look at the film, what did you like about what he brought to the table? Like, what does he bring to the cornerback room?
Aside from he has great length and skills, but he also he sees the formation well. You know, he sees the adjustment. You know, he can predict pre-snap what's going to happen. You know, he's really got a high football intelligence.
Front row, middle. Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
When you reviewed the Iowa game, again, we know what their offense is. Did it look as good to you on review? And what really stood out to you?
It was good. You know, obviously, I see a lot of things that happen within a play that maybe could have gone the other way. I see all the room that where we can improve. You know, I love the fact that we were getting turnovers and winning on third down. You know, I thought, you know, well, Zach Harrison had a great game. You know, you love to see that kind of play up front. So, you know, I thought we were together, did a lot of right things. I also saw areas where I know we can improve.
Front row, middle. Dave Biddle, 24/7 Sports.
Hi, Jim. Coach Day was talking about with Chip moving to running back now full time. EA is going to have to step up as that second team middle linebacker. Of course, with Tommy playing as well as he's playing, hopefully you guys won't need him. But what do you expect out of EA? What's kind of his strengths and just what do you expect out of EA?
EA has great athleticism. He has linebacker instinct, I guess, too. You know, and some EA just to stay healthy, right? And I just really want him to have a good week of practice because I've always felt like he could emerge if he strung together some games and some weeks of practice of being healthy. He's just had a tough time of it.
Far left. Dan Hope, 11 Warriors.
Jim, you mentioned how well Zach Harrison played, but he didn't play that many snaps. When you see a guy play that well, do you think, hey, maybe we should keep him on the field more frequently going forward?
You know, I think that all is dictated by the pace of the game, and you know, there are a lot of other factors to determine that, how Coach Johnson feels about the rotation, but you know, those are not decisions that we jump to. You know, things are working, you kind of go with the flow.
Front row right. Tim May, Letterman Row.
Yeah, Jim, I asked you a little bit about this after the game today, but I want to follow up. Like I just asked Ryan, it's hard to kind of right now imagine this defense without Tanner McAllister in it and Lathan Ransom, the way Ransom is, like you said, triggering, et cetera. But from your vantage point, what do those two guys bring to that table in that safety room, and will we see Lathan considerably more as this season goes on now?
Lathan, you know, I've told you all along, he's just been a guy that I've been totally impressed with since he emerged, since he was able to practice. You know what I mean? Because not looking at much from last year and not having him go in the spring, didn't know what to expect. But yeah, he's got a hot hand. He's just like I've always, he's one of those safeties that can see the forest through the trees and pull his trigger and go. So guys playing like that, yeah, you want to keep them going. And Tanner, you know, I've said it all along, just he brings a coaching presence to the room in terms of understanding the system, you know, having answers for the other guys. You know, also, you know, he knows me, so he knows how I coach and what I'm trying to do. And you know, it's always good to have somebody younger, you know, who can talk about that to the players.
Yeah, but he was promised. I mean, I would think he was promised a shot if he came here, but he wasn't necessarily promised you're going to be one of the guys. I mean, you know what I mean? That shows some maturity, right?
Yeah, I mean, it showed. Yes, a lot of faith in me, a lot of faith in himself, you know, and also the fact that he wanted to stretch himself. You know, it's a guy gets to that point in your career. I think it takes a lot of character to say, hey, I want to stretch myself to try something new at this point in my career, and I give him a lot of credit for that.
Front row middle. Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Ryan mentioned that this collection of receivers and the quarterback Penn State has is probably the biggest challenge you guys have faced in defending the pass this year. What makes them maybe a tough test in that regard, and what do you guys need to do to counteract
I
that?
think, the quarterback is veteran. He's very smart. He's good at reading what you're doing, delivering the ball. He's tough, hangs in there. He can scramble. I mean, he's just a really good quarterback. He's an operator, and the receivers, they're skillful, and they can they can go up and win a lot of 50-50 balls. They're good route runners. I just think that whole operation will be a challenge for us.
Second row middle, Nathan Baird, Cleveland.com.
Your thoughts on what Teron Vincent is giving you guys this season, and what his presence means in the middle of that defensive line?
He's a veteran guy who, made the decision when I got here to buy in, and I think that is really important, for all of us to recognize. Again, it's not easy for a guy who's been around a while to all of a sudden have somebody new come in and tell him, hey, this is the way we're going to do this. And he had that maturity and that vision, or that, early confidence in me to say, hey, we're going to follow. And because he has the respect of the other players, he brought a lot of guys along with him. It's a big deal, and so he really helped in that total buy-in from the whole defense.
Front row right, Austin
So
Warren.
do you have like a conversation with him early on?
No. I mean, no, not specifically. We just kind of grew into it together to where we have a really good relationship. I didn't. To me, it's hard to have those conversations until you know a guy. You know what I mean? You don't. So we kind of got to know each other, and it happened naturally. And really, really proud of him and thankful for the help he's given me.
Front row right, Austin Ward, Letterman Road, 97.1 The Fan.
Jim, you'd said a week or two ago that there were more things you felt like you could get to with this defense, and Tanner sort of indicated after the game on Saturday that he can feel you getting more of that stuff on the field. Is that, when you have everything at your disposal and you know that the players out there are more comfortable or confident executing that, how does that change the comfort or confidence for you in calling a play when you know that you can get deeper in to that bag?
Yeah, I mean, it is a process, and like I said, a lot of times we rep things in practice 2-3 weeks out, and that we haven't used yet, and you're right, I have to be comfortable with it, because it's not, if you make a mistake, it's costly, right, on defense. It can really hurt the entire team. So, the growth process, I think, in terms of us implementing the complete system, we're getting there. But we have some things that we've worked on and haven't used yet. Haven't had to use them, and it's, when things are going well, it's not about putting something on there that could, that maybe you're just not 100% sure about. So we keep working them in practice and growing it. So there's a lot of growth outside of what shows on the field in terms of, scheme.
Right behind him, Bill Landis, Rivals.
Jim, when you're facing a team that has a really good slot receiver like Penn State has, how have you historically approached that? Is that the nickel's job? Are you comfortable moving a corner over if need be? Do you want that guy to see multiple bodies throughout the game? Just what's your philosophy there?
Yeah, I think that it's exactly like you said. It's recognizing it, having certain ideas on who we want the matchup to be and how we're going to play it. But then it's also creating some doubt in the quarterback's mind. I mean, I think that becomes a lot of what we do in terms of what he's going to get. So it's like half of it, it's about the guy. The other half of it is about the quarterback, and trying to create enough cloudy picture so he just doesn't feel, free always going to that guy.
Jim, this is just a version of the question we've asked you every time since you got here, but obviously you see room for improvement with this defense still. But just the arc of understanding and confidence and performance of this defense, where do you see it right now from the minute you got here to the way you guys played against Iowa?
I would, you described it perfectly. It's an arc, and it's definitely has trended up, and continues to trend up. It's my job to keep that going. You can't ever stay the same in this business. You can't stay the same. You have to keep pushing and prodding and looking for ways to improve, things to add. And you want to. I think the success breeds further success, right? So you want to give the players some sugar, but not too much sugar, because too much sugar is not good for anybody, right? So you just try to point out the things and give them a clap on the back for that, and say, okay, now that we've done this, we can go to this, and it's just really about habits. It's not about. It's never to me about one particular day. It's more about habits. It's the competitive stamina that Coach Day talks about and that Coach Mick talks about in the weight room. We are what we repeatedly do, right? Excellence. It's not an act; it's a habit. That's Aristotle, I think, right? Not Jim Knowles. But what I'm saying is, it's like you said, it's an arc, and it's a push, and it doesn't matter who you're playing. All I see is the team that's in front of us, and here's what we're going to do, and presenting a plan. The process is the same. The expectations are different, but you keep the process, and you keeping your foot on the metal.
Deep left, Brendan Gulick, Buckeyes Now on Sports Illustrated.
Coach, maybe building off that question a little bit, how difficult is it when you're evaluating your performance on any given week? How difficult is it to remove what you see from the opposing offense and simply focus on what you're trying to accomplish? Because you see offenses that are really good, and last week you saw an offense that struggled this year.
Yeah, it's not difficult at all. It's really not, because you look at the play, you look at the call, and did we execute it? And if we didn't, why didn't we? If we did, here's the thing that worked about it. It really is a narrow view. You don't get involved in all of that. At least I don't in my head. I want to see the play. I want to see what they did. I want to see what we did, given the call, what I expected, how it finished. Did something happen that I didn't expect? What was the technique? And you can really break it. That's what we do. You break it down, and you study it for what it is, and you correct, motivate, teach off of that.
Fourth row middle, Andy Anders, Buckeye Sports Bulletin.
So I think I kind of wanted to get an insight onto some of the communication of the defense. I know a lot.
I'm not telling you any of that.
Fair enough. I'll ask a different question then. With the three linebacker sets, a lot of times it seemed like the third linebacker was always playing on the line of scrimmage. What are your thoughts on stacking linebackers in a 4-3 versus having that third linebacker come down and play on the line?
I think it just depends on what you're facing and what you're trying to do. You want to try not to be predictable. Sometimes you have to be based on what you're getting and the opponent, but you'd like to be able to have both, and there's different reasons for it, but it really just depends on what you're getting from the offense.
Right next door, Pat Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
Jim, as a defense, I know you want to make things cloudy for a quarterback, but I also assume it makes it easier when you can get him off his spots, not let him get stationary, get the feet set. When you've seen CJ on the practice field, how does he respond to those type of things? How have you seen him maybe improve as he's worked through that?
He's great. I mean, he's the best I've ever been around. He can see the rotation and know what, like every defense that you call has a hole in it somewhere, right? And what we do is try to disguise those holes, right? I mean, if you really wanted to stop every play, you need like 14 guys out there. I mean, it's just think about it. If you were truly trying, if you're like, hey, we're going to stop them every play, but he is CJ's a guy who loves the game. Um, you know, will continue to ask me questions if we do something against them in practice. Hey, what were you thinking here? Why did you do that? So he's just, and of course he's got all the talent, but he also has the mind for it.
Right next door, Tony Gervin, Buckeye Huddle.
Jim, did you feel any pressure, not that you brought Tanner over, but him coming over, did you feel any pressure in him coming here and him having to live up to, the way he has played, but also playing at Ohio State?
No, I didn't feel any pressure. I had a lot of confidence in him. He and me, we've trained we trained a certain way for 4 years. So, we come here, we train and think the same way. And it's not about pressure. It's more about the process and just doing it. So I felt good the fact that he was going to come in here and do things the way we've always done it in terms of the process, and he was going to do just fine.
Right next door, Cameron T. Robinson, The Athletic.
Jim, Denzel seems to have been playing better since he came back from injury. Just what has been your evaluation of him the last few weeks? And have you seen anything different from him from early in the year to now, or has he been the same?
No, Denzel is the same. I mean, he is a competitive but quiet, talented. I've always had great confidence, and I continued throughout the season. Like I said, if he wasn't making enough plays because he is talented and skill, you have to then look at the calls, which goes on me. So, but he has always been a really, fun guy to coach. I don't know if I'm fun, so I'm not having that much fun. But I mean, he's an easy guy to coach. He's coachable. He competes. He tries hard. He listens to what you have to say, and I think that's what you want. You want a guy who is going to respond, and he's always responded to every challenge since I've been here.
Got time for just a few more. Spencer Holbrook, fourth row right, Letterman row.
Jim, you guys have forced a turnover in you've had an interception in 5 straight games. We asked you a few weeks ago, before you had any turnovers, if those were coming. Can you, snowball turnovers? Is that a thing that a defense can do?
What did I say when you asked me if they were coming?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Yes. Hey, call that defense where we get a turnover. You know what I mean? That's all. It's like not like basketball where you call. Hey, we're going to get the ball right. I mean, it is, but there is something to what you say. I mean, there is something to momentum. There is something with guys being comfortable in the system, taking more chances, growth. I mean, those are the things that you want to see, and it's been happening. So all valid points. I just think it's part of the process. If the process is going the right way, that's one of the indicators that you're doing good things.
So get a quick follow-up. Tanner said after the game that he feels like he's watching guys maybe cheat a little bit. They can start to show one thing, do another thing. Are you seeing more of that in your defense, and do you think that's causing more turnovers, that guys are comfortable enough to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I know it helps. It helps. It just helps guys play freer, and that's the goal. My goal is to have them play free because they understand the totality of the scheme and where they fit. Then they can give other looks and get out of it, and that's part of the growth.
Over your far right, Clay Hall, WSYX.
Just curious if your perception of Penn State has changed from being a younger man, Paterno, Eastern powerhouse, now in the Big Ten. Has their profile been diminished at all in the state of Pennsylvania, for instance?
Not in my mind. I mean, you're right. I grew up watching. Anybody in here as old as me? Sunday morning was you had the 1 hour time slot where they would recap the game. And always well respected, and what Coach Franklin has done. Great respect for that. So I haven't seen it change. I mean, I think in coaching, you're kind of aware of everything. but I think they've done a great job of keeping it as consistent.
Far left, Ryan McGee, ESPN.
Coach, I want to ask you about guys you see in practice on the other side of the football. You've seen a lot of great receivers at your stops along the way. This group seems pretty special. What is it about them that stands out to you when you're working with them in practice and against them in practice?
You know, the finish, absolutely. I mean, routes are great, speed, all of that, but actually completing the catch is as good or better than I've ever seen, and we see it every day in practice. They
Deep, sorry about that.
no, they just get it done. Yep.
Deep left, Tom Moore, Buckeye Huddle.
When you first turn on the film to look at the next team on the schedule, or the first time you turn on the film for your team, what is the first thing you're looking at? And then can you sort of walk us through the process of how you're evaluating and deciding what you're going to do as you're watching that film?
Explosive plays, right? I mean, you want to look first at how they're making their explosive plays, out of what formations, what scheme. You know, I think explosive plays are a big part of stopping a team. So we definitely look at that, look at things, and then it's just an hours-long process of looking at, you know, formations and down and distances and tendencies and field position, and you know, there's a lot of writing, a lot of scribbling, you know, for myself in terms of the way I do it. But everybody probably has a different process, but that's how I go.
Final questions, front row, Joey Coffin, Columbus Dispatch.
Just to follow up on Penn State, just having grown up in the Northeast, did you ever go there for clinics, interact with coaches much on the road? Just what's your experience with that school?
I have not had the chance to be there a whole lot, to be honest with you. So it was more of just, you know, I know that it was extremely important to the people that I grew up with. You know, as a kid, you learn that, hey, this is important to people. You know, the excellence of the program and the success. And I think if you play football, which I always did, you know, you fall in line with that, and you look at it, you know, as, you know, a really successful program. So, but I haven't had the chance to be around there much.
Coach Bill's from Philadelphia, so he gets one final question. Bill Landis.
World Series, baby. Don't burn down the city. Right.
You guys got Cameron Martinez on the field a little bit as like I guess it was a 6DB at some time. What have you thought of his progression, and do you see that role being able to evolve for him throughout the
Yeah, I think Cam is an excellent player. I really love his coverage skills. I mean, his feet. He's got great feet. He's a competitor. He's just been hampered by injury. You know, he's going to keep playing more as long as he's healthy.
Coach, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.